Hello, finally it happened and HiBy's flagship player made its way to me. I've spent more than a week with it and now I'm ready to share my experience. Of course, everyone knows HiBy or HiBy, not sure about the correct pronunciation, but this company is really well known both as a software creator. They created one of the most successful Android and iOS software players, HiBy Music, and for a few years they already well known as a creator of really successful hardware products. I reviewed all their players, R6, R6 Pro, R3, R3 Pro, and R5 of course, and also they created a few headphone models and Bluetooth receivers. They created their own Bluetooth codec UAT that they use in their product. They sometimes help other companies with software, and that's usually a good sign that the software will be working okay. And they created true wireless model and so on, so they continue releasing really successful models. But today we will focus on their flagship, and they decided to implement really no jokes approach to the creating a flagship model. Unfortunately, in the outside of China and Japan, there won't be available limited edition versions. They created limited edition in stainless steel case, more expensive, with 2 additional gigabytes of RAM and with support of the 4G wireless network, but for the outside of the world they released only the black aluminum version. But still, it's a really good player. It's targeted towards the higher price segment. Price is $1,900, but for this price they really try to put the maximum of everything inside. So it's built using the Snapdragon 660 chipset, has 3 gigabytes of RAM, 64 gigabytes of flash memory. It uses dual AK4497 as a digital to analog converter and custom op amps, sophisticated audio circuit with hand-picked capacitors and so on and so forth. Also, it has a really huge battery, 10,000 milliamperes per hour, giving it from 9 to 12 hours of work. At average it's about 10 to 11, and it's a really good figures for such a powerful hardware, but more on that later. And it's pretty powerful. It's about 6 volts RMS from the single-ended output, or about 1000 milliwatts, and about 3 volts RMS from single-ended output, and it's about 300 milliwatts. And probably that's enough for the specs. And of course, I'm not speaking about the Bluetooth with all codecs, Wi-Fi, and so on and so forth. Let's proceed to the package. Actually, it has additional huge package. It's a big cardboard box. It never fit on my table, so I won't show it, but it's just black cardboard. Inside you will get this envelope with some kind of seal. I didn't break it, you know, I always have this hard feeling when I need to break something irreversibly. Probably there is some letter of gratitude inside. And you will get the additional layer of storage. Let's unpack it. Okay, so sorry, I will unpack it and show a bit later. And you will have this briefcase with locks, with handle, made of leather, looks pretty stylish. Inside on the top layer one will get a player, and underneath there goes additional accessories. So it's Dignis case. First 100 players will have a Dignis case, and others will have just some good genuine leather case, but not made by Dignis. And also there is a box. Inside of this box there are different papers like warranty card, manual, additional screen protectors and everything that you will need to apply them. This kind of clip to remove the micro SD tray, and here USB cable and coaxial output cable. So nice storage layer, everything is made with magnets, nicely optimized, so really great premium unboxing experience. And it took me a few additional seconds to unpack this additional layer. So what is it done for? And actually it's a great idea. When you remove the player and initially unpack it, most probably you will store the player inside of the case, so you won't need this upper layer of storage, and you can just remove it, store your player here, and you can replace that layer with additional storage. So here it's just empty storage layer. There are two additional slots for some cables, for some headphones, and also there are two layers of storage for some other accessories, so I don't know, micro SD cards or something like that. And you can, this way you can turn this briefcase into your portable storage to carry with you the most precious audio gear. So you can see that this level of attention to the details looks pretty amazing. So here it is, you can see it's a pretty big boy. So here is Fuse M15, about the same size but a bit thinner, and yet another pretty big dub. It's SP2000 by Aston Kern. So you can see it's not as big as, for example, iBus or DX220 Max, but it's still pretty big player. But for me it's still portable, not transportable as DX220 Max. And you can notice, if you're following the audio gear topics, you can see that HiBy changed the design, and they say that they did that on purpose. They decided to make the design more masculine. They use this word, you can see no round edges, more sharp design with unusual approach. It feels really nice and solid in hand. Despite big weight, it's almost 500 grams or 450, I don't remember the exact specs, so but on the pretty heavy side. On the left side there is a tray for the micro SD slots. If someone will be lucky to get the version with 4G, there will be additional slot for the SIM card. On top there is a volume knob. Here used really good encoder, so rotation is nice with well-defined clicks, and there are 4 buttons, and actually they have really smart shape. Let me show it this way. You can see that they protrude more on the upper side, so when you hold it this way there won't be accident clicks, because you need to move the finger up of finger height to click the button. Let's turn it on. There is a LED indicator, multifunctional as usual, and on the bottom there are a lot of connectors. So USB-C, can be used for charging, 5 hours of charge even with quick charge support, or PD standard used here if I remember right. But still 10,000 mAh battery require a lot of power to be transferred. Also here is phone out and balanced phone out, line out and balanced line out, so you can use it even with balanced amplifiers if you will have the appropriate cable. I think it will be available soon. And also, of course, you can use the USB slot to access the memory, to use it as a USB digital tonal converter, to use it as a digital transport. So basically all the modern features you can think of, you can get here. Actually, HiBy was the creators of vast majority of that features who implemented them first. Backside has this glass-like cover. Here is, and both on the front panel they have protective films, and it instantly starts gathering fingerprints, so if you hear some noise, it's perfectionist is screaming inside of me. And screen, let's turn the maximum brightness, and let's turn the night light mode. So screen is 5.5 inches, and it has 1080p resolution, so nice, good high resolution screen with good viewing angles, with nice sensors reaction, with good resolution, with enough of brightness to be visible even under the bright sun. So in terms of design, in terms of build, in terms of feel, it's definitely player worth this price range. So it feels like solid offer in this price range, so I think it can be easily compared with other brands in this price. So here it is in case, that signature metal pattern by Dignis, so looks really nice. In terms of firmware, here used Android 9, thanks to more recent Snapdragon chipset. They managed to use the pretty recent version of Android, so you can be calm about the support, so many applications will support it for quite a long time. There are not much difference from the regular Android. There is a Play Store support, of course, that you can expect from the HiBy. And there is a drawer with additional functions, so Wi-Fi, Bluetooth, auto rotation, audio settings, additional buttons that will bring you to the settings, and night light mode. You can customize that, adding additional features if you need. But besides that, you can see, so not much applications here. I installed TOTL and that's all. And settings, in settings you will get audio settings, it's additional menu item. So low pass filter settings, turbo mode if you need additional power and you get okay to sacrifice the battery. 3 level of gain, you can download and install different audio plugins. There are not so much of them. Actually, let's activate the Wi-Fi and we'll see what plugins are there. It's some also. We'll update it later. So I updated 2 days ago, but they released new version. So online convolution, sound field and balance. So you can install plugins system wide and it's a different sound altering features. But what is more important and what many users will definitely like, they moved this MSEB sound enhancer to the system level, so it will apply to all applications. Of course, when you turn it on, it won't be a bit perfect sound anymore, but you can change the sound signature. Like overall temperature, make it brighter or warmer, bass extension, deeper or lighter, bass texture. So a lot of parameters that you can tweak, and because they have really understandable names, it's much easier to use compared with equalizer. And so let's go back, I keep it off for now. DSD gain compensation, channel balance and maximum volume, so that's all. But of course the heart of this player, heart of its software is the HiBy player. I'm not sure does it have much sense to show it, but if you haven't seen this player before, so let's see this review further, and if you know about the player, just use the timelines, timestamps to skip to the next part. So when you start it, it opens media library. It has 3 chapters. First one is the media library itself. You can browse by title, by folder, by albums, by artist, by genre, album artist, and private cloud. It's access to different online services and DLNA. You can select playlists, so there is favorite, recently played and custom playlists. And you can also turn HiBy Link client and server here to control this player from your smartphone or to control some other instance of HiBy player with this. And of course there is a search feature. It's typical for the Android players with sensor screen, you can expect it. Here is now playing screen with big album cover with progress indicator and back and forward buttons. Also you can here add to playlist, equalizer, show album info properties, and you can use it to download the album covers and lyrics online if you'd like to. And here you can also access the additional settings: import music via Wi-Fi, scan for music, download manager, equalizer. You can use the linear equalizer, but it makes not much sense because there is MSEB. But it's better to use the system-wide, I think. Let's go back. Plugins, also you can install the same set of plugins here. And sleep timer if you need. And settings, lot of them. Show lyrics, pause when headphones unplugged, gapless transition between the tracks, replay again if you need it, remember the last position, play through folders and albums, nice option to have, exclusive USB audio access, additional set of USB settings, so you can see that they added a lot of options to use with external USB digital to analog converter, DSD mode, fixed output sampling rate if you need, volume mode if there are some devices connected, language settings, font settings, so fixed or system defined, display album cover, download them automatically, list sort orders, order, lock screen settings, notification settings, and error reporting, so lot of options, and quick start guide if you need it. Of course there are mass management tools, so you can select a lot of tracks or albums, delete it, add to playlists, send to, so all that options are available. HiBy spent a lot of time polishing firmware and it works really fast, so let's see. So fast scrolling, really fast thanks to the good CPU and firmware, so no issues with lags. Everything is working as you can expect, and also it supports MQA with 16xx unfolding. It's the biggest figure available only on few high-end digital to analog converters, and of course in what came to software, of course HiBy have best options, best implementations. It's something that you can expect from them. And of course about the sound, not a secret that HiBy signature sound is a bit on the warmer and on the analog side of things. And for R8 they've implemented the similar signature, but of course with much less coloration comparing with the lower segment players. And also they are tuning and perfecting their sound signature. In first R6 they just reduced the treble, but then they returned treble back and just adding a bit of additional weight to the mids and to the bass. And actually R8 is almost natural, but a bit on the euphorical and engaging side of things, but without additional coloration, like without attempts to add some energy and so on. So it's, you know, like a polite version of tuning, but really engaging. For example, let's use IMR Opus Mia. It's just for example, of course they are not natural absolutely, but actually they really fitting the signature of this player really well, but it's not the model I'm using for critical listening, it's the model to use for enjoyment. So bass is really well controlled, it has good texturing, a bit of additional weight, so it gives big body, but at the same time, of course, it's really really well performing, and it has really good texturing, nice depth, almost maximum, and thanks to the power it's perfectly controlled, so you'll understand that sense of high-powered players, because low frequencies are controlled on absolutely flawless level. And it's absolutely universal in terms of low frequencies. It suits well some natural bass, some low notes on the fortepiano, some acoustic bass, and it will give you all that sense of tiny overtones and rich harmonics. And at the same time it's pretty good when it comes to slam, to impact, to the punch, and it can deliver it with ease. Actually, this model shows that. And as an example for the low frequencies, I've got this track. It's Diablo Swing Orchestra. I don't know what genre it is. Of course it's metal, probably it's avant-garde metal with a bit of dark cabaret and other genres. And track name is Gunpowder Chant or Chant, and they're using didgeridoo at the introduction of this track, and it's low notes that are going really deep and resonate on that depth, so nice sense of presence and of body, and this player delivers that with great authority and great sense of presence. Mids are almost natural with a hint of additional weight that highlights a bit vocals, especially male ones, and give a bit of additional body to the instruments, but I still also highlight that this coloration is really minor. So besides that, it's natural with good resolution, but it's actually not focusing on the micro detalization, so it's not trying to be nitpicking, but at the same time it delivers all necessary details, and of course it requires good, well recorded and well mastered tracks, but at the same time it's not so unforgiving to something not properly recorded. And it's I think it's another decision of HiBy that they made on purpose. Usually some high-end players are really critical, especially with something poorly mastered or with some compressed tracks, but not in this case, because here the player a bit more forgiving. Not totally, because there is not much sense in using some poorly recorded tracks with high-end player, but if you have few of them in your collection, of course you can listen to them. Instruments sounding really natural, with good separation, with pretty big and spacious stage. It's noticeably above average, not the most huge one, but noticeably above average, with good 3D positioning and depth layering. And as an example, I've got the track that, like one track to test it all. It's Deep Purple made in Japan, remastered version or deluxe edition, great remaster of great live concert, and Child in Time, one of the best pieces of music ever created, and in this live performance it's sounding even more emotional than studio version, and with this player you will have all the necessary nuances like sense of presence on the live concert, and there is a really deep going and deep hitting drums, nice vocals, really emotional, and this player renders them really nicely. You will get this velvet sound of Gillan's voice and good percussions with all that overtones, so everything is present here. And treble. Treble is a bit on the softer side, but it's just a slight small coloration to suit the overall tuning. It still has a great resolution, really realistic attacks and decays, and of course maximum extension, so there is no issues with layering, no issues with overtone saturation. Treble here delivers all that tiny nuances and details that makes audiophilic players or high-end players and high-end gear, that makes them stand out comparing with the medium level or lower segment. For me usually it's treble, the main point of difference. And here you will get all of that, but treble will be a bit softer to sound a bit more organic. So it's rarely getting sharp, only paired with some treble forward headphones. It can be too much. But still, it's not, you know, that way of treble softening when treble is sounding unrealistic or something like that. And as an example, it's the tracks that I never used for testing because I just like Dire Straits, and when I try to use Dire Straits for critical listening, usually it ends with like 1 hour of listening to the Dire Straits without any critical approach. And as an illustration here, it's a good track, Sultans of Swing. It's forward a bit, well, maybe not aggressive, but forward track, let's name it this way. Nice guitar, of course, that requires a nice treble performance because there are overtones going to the lower treble area, and cymbals that are hiding somewhere in background, but thanks to the performance of this player, they are delivered on the appropriate level. So, to summarize everything, natural, organic, engaging player with a bit of added weight, but just a tiny bit. In terms of pairing, it's almost universal. It has enough power to drive even pretty power-hungry planar headphones. 1 watt of power, it's okay for them, and it has a pretty good black background, not absolutely perfect, because with super sensitive earphones you will hear a bit of noise, but just don't use Solaris and Andromeda with balanced output. They don't require that much power. Use them with single-ended, because both outputs here are almost equal, if you of course listen to them with equalized level of volume. So the HiBy managed to make single-ended output as good as balanced one, so just maybe some tiny nuances, but I don't think it's worth bothering. So universal in terms of pairing too. And let's speak about the comparisons. Not every single player that worth mentioning I put on the table, but a pair of them. And actually, you know, surprisingly or not surprisingly, R8 sounds like a mix of those two. It has a bit of warmth, but M15 is still a bit, has more weight. Actually not warmth, but I'd probably say more weight, because it's not warm per se. It's just have a bit of added weight, and M15 has a bit more weight, or is even a bit more weight. But this one sounding a bit more natural and with a bit bigger stage comparing with M15. And it has a bit of that organic and euphoric performance that shows SP2000, but of course SP2000 is still better, you know, it's even more natural, and thanks to that Aston Kern signature coloration, it's sounding even more organic and engaging. I bassoed the X220 Max. I don't know why they are always comparing. Max is more natural, more focused on the resolution, more forward, a bit more aggressive and more highlighting emotions, but at the same time it's also more critical to the quality of records and so on. And I don't know other players, so classical Lot 2 Po Gold, it's also bit forward, bit more aggressive, it's closer to the X220 Max, and Kane N6 Mark II, it really depends on the audio models that you will use, but it's also more highlighting emotions. Actually, it's one of the most emotions highlighting dubs ever, so it's different in terms of representation. This one is more accurate, and if you like such representation. So probably it's time to summarize and to make some conclusions. So HiBy really managed to create the player fitting perfectly into this price range. It's good in terms of performance, it has advanced solutions both in software and hardware, and it delivers their own signature sound on the higher levels than before, and it's, you know, it's a probably one of the best dubs in terms of in the higher segment in terms of price to quality ratio, especially if you need to use some streaming media and so on. It's said that streaming 4G is not available outside of China, but to be honest, I don't think that it's a really useful feature, because all streaming clients have this offline mode, and you can just connect to Wi-Fi and sync your favorite tracks to offline and just work with it and live with it. I can't think of some scenario when you won't have the access to the Wi-Fi. In the worst case, you just can share your smartphone's 4G connection and use it to download some tracks. So 4G is not a big deal breaker in my opinion, but that limited version also has stainless steel body that is really good addition, and additional RAM and ROM if I remember right, but still this one has better price, so it's really a good player. Thank you for listening, thank you for your attention, and have a nice day.